Hi everyone, my name is James, and today I want to share a story that changed my life and left a mark on me that will probably never fade. Last year was the hardest and most shameful for me. I did something I never thought I was capable of. I cheated on my girlfriend Annie, with whom I had been together for 8 long years, with a woman I worked with, a colleague named Jess. Jess and I now have a son, just 3 weeks old. But no birth can erase the fact that I betrayed the person who loved me and to whom I owed loyalty. I have no excuse. Neither circumstances nor emotions nor weakness. Nothing can explain my betrayal. I paid too high a price for this act. I lost my job because the affair at work became public. I lost most of my friends because no one wanted anything to do with a man who did such a thing. And most importantly, I lost the love of a truly good woman, the one I thought I would spend my life with. I fully understand that all of this was deserved. I never expected pity or forgiveness. I brought everything that happened on myself. When Annie found out about the betrayal, she didn't even make a scene or raise a fuss. She simply packed up all my things and took them to my parents' house without even telling me. I only realized she knew when it was too late. She silently cut me out of her life, giving me no chance to explain myself, no chance to apologize face to face. It was excruciating to realize that the person you'd shared every day with for almost a decade now behaved as if you'd never existed. I fell into despair. I wrote to all our mutual friends and acquaintances, begging them to talk to her, to tell her I wanted to apologize, that I regretted everything I'd done. I sent her hundreds of messages myself, confessing my guilt, telling her how much I missed her and wanting her back, but she never responded. It was as if she had vanished from my life completely. Not a single word, not a single hint that I still existed for her. When Jess saw that I continued to write to Annie, it naturally caused tension between us. At the beginning of our relationship, we fought constantly. She was jealous of the past, and I didn't know how to explain that remorse didn't mean I still loved Annie. But soon Jess became pregnant, and that changed everything. We decided to forget the past for the sake of the child that was to come. We both decided that we wanted to build a family, to give our son a normal life without scandals and regrets. From then on, I tried to live my life right. I was completely devoted to Jess and our son. I didn't even allow myself to look at other women. Everything that had come before was left behind. Every day I tried to be better than I had been and to prove, at least to myself, that I was capable of loyalty and responsibility, even if it was too late. As Jess neared the end of her pregnancy, about a month ago, something happened that I never expected. For the first time since our breakup, I ran into Annie by chance at a store. We hadn't seen each other for almost a year, and this encounter caught me off guard. She looked calm, but her voice was cold and distant. No emotion, no anger, no warmth, just dry politeness, as if she were dealing with a stranger rather than the person she'd lived with for 8 years. During our brief conversation, she told me that a few months ago, she'd found an old keychain of mine, the very same one my grandfather had given me when I was a child. The keychain had no material value, but it was precious as a memento, a symbol of my childhood and my connection with my grandfather. Annie knew how important it was to me and offered to take it. However, she did so in her usual straightforward manner. She told me I could come the following Saturday morning, and if I didn't, she'd simply throw it in the trash. I tried to explain that Saturday might be difficult. Jess was due in 6 days, and of course I wanted to be there, as the birth of my son was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. But Annie remained adamant. Pick him up on Saturday or lose him forever. When I arrived at my old house where we used to live together, Annie invited me inside. She said she wanted to talk about how things ended between us, and to be honest, I didn't refuse. Perhaps I was yearning for some closure, a final conversation that would put an end to our story. We talked calmly, without accusations or shouting. I apologized for everything I'd done, admitted my guilt, and thanked her for once being a part of my life. In response, she wished me happiness in my new family and said she hoped I'd changed. As I was leaving, she hugged me, and I, unable to contain my emotions, hugged her back a little tighter than I should have. But there was no romance or desire to return the past in it, only relief that we had finally had a human conversation and were able to part without hatred. The whole thing took less than an hour, and then I went straight to the hospital to see my son and Jess. I didn't tell Jess about this meeting, not because I wanted to hide anything, but because I knew she still felt insecure and jealous of Annie. And I didn't want to provoke another argument in the wake of the baby's birth. At the time, I sincerely believed I was doing the right thing, trying not to complicate my family's life. When I arrived at the hospital after meeting Annie, I was over the moon. My son had been born, and I was going to see him again. But things didn't go as I expected. At reception, the head of the department stopped me and, with a stony expression, told me I couldn't go see the baby. No explanation, no details, just a cold, "You can't." I stood there, stunned, not understanding what was happening. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake or misunderstanding, but after a few minutes, it became clear this was no joke. When I tried to insist and demanded at least an explanation, security intervened. I was literally pushed out of the hospital like a criminal, deprived of even the right to see my own child. It was humiliating, painful, and incomprehensible. I couldn't believe that on what should have been one of the happiest days of my life, I was being kicked out of the maternity hospital. I called Jess over and over, texted her, called her mother. No answer, not a word. My chest tightened with anxiety and growing despair. And then, after several hours of silence, I finally received a message. It was a video recording taken by the doorbell camera at Annie's house. The recording shows me walking through the door at around 9:30 a.m. and walking out 45 minutes later around 10:15 a.m. The video cuts off at a point where Annie and I are standing quite close, and from that angle it looks like we're kissing, though in reality it was just a goodbye hug. Attached to the recording was a message from Annie, written with venom that was palpable in every word. Did he even shower or change between sleeping with me and hugging his son? Congratulations, you're stuck with him for the next 18 years. I hope this is exactly what you wanted. When I read this, my breath literally caught in my throat. Everything inside me sank. I realized she'd orchestrated the whole thing, knowing exactly when I'd arrive and how it would look. But Jess, having received this message, believed what she saw. After all, in the footage, everything looked exactly as Annie wanted. No one believes it's a setup. Absolutely no one. Everyone who saw that video is now convinced I genuinely cheated on Jess. Even those who knew me for years, who once called me a friend. And honestly, I don't blame them. From the outside, it all looks perfectly planned, convincing, and sadly believable. I could never have imagined that Annie, the kindest, quiet girl I lived with for 8 years, was capable of such cruelty. Her revenge wasn't just painful, it was devastating. I still tried to reach out to her. I sent a message, not even hoping it would get through. After all, she'd blocked me almost everywhere. But to my surprise, she responded, coldly, without a hint of regret. She wrote that I couldn't play the victim anymore, that I deleted all our messages, but she didn't. I checked. Of course, there was nothing left. Maybe she really did save our old messages, or maybe she was just bluffing, but soon she blocked me again. I had no way to defend myself. Now that I think about it, it's clear she was biding her time. Annie remained silent for almost a year, as if she'd simply disappeared from my life. And all that time, perhaps, she was plotting this perfect blow. One single moment, I know what I did to Annie was disgusting. I betrayed the person who loved me with all her heart. But is that really a justification for such revenge? Do I deserve to be deprived of my son, my family, and my reputation. I have no one to talk to about this. Even my mother, the only person I ever expected to offer even a shred of support, doesn't believe me. When I told her everything, she simply asked, "Why did you ruin your life if Annie was willing to forgive you?" That's probably the warmest thing I've heard from her since everything fell apart. The rest have simply turned away. The few friends I have left look at me with pity, but not trust. They all think I'm just making excuses. And it's devastating to realize that not a single person on earth sees the truth. Everything is ruined. My career, my family, my reputation, my faith in myself, all gone. I don't know how to move on. The only thing left in me is regret. Boundless, corrosive regret for every decision, every word, every mistake. But I also understand that nothing can be changed. All I can do is simply exist in this silence and watch as the world I built crumbles to dust.